Guys, first of all, thanks for calling. I really appreciate it. So, oh, great. Hold on one sec, sorry. I have to request access from myself to access my nubs.
You dork.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah, you guys know AB, right? I mean, AB was singing your praise, Michael. You were in his corner, right? Because his coach was unable to attend. That was so nice of you.
Yeah, I love AB. Yeah, I helped him train for a little while as well. I helped a lot of the fighters from Creator Clash 1 train. But yeah, I love AB. He's a great guy. Yeah, I'll be in his corner any day.
There it is. Oh,
thanks, bud.
So nice.
Appreciate you. I actually, we were supposed to go out to eat, the three of us, recently, but my grandma got sick and I had to bail last minute. Yeah, but nice to see you guys.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah.
And Kate, what did you do for Creator Clash?
I traveled with Ian and Nisa along with Michael, and I did all the recording for all the sparring sessions, all the meetups with all the YouTubers, even small interviews with like Eric, who also fought on CC1. So I have a ton of content, and Ian promised us that he was going to put out this documentary that was going to share the journey of how Michael took this video game nerd and turned him into a boxer. And so that's how they sold it to us when they first came to us. And so I was super psyched that this is going to be a way for me to help build my husband's brand and also put the work out there. But it never came through. And so when he most recently put that video out saying that he told a big lie and he was never going to put out a documentary, and all he has is a ton of 4K videos of him doing stupid shit or something like that, it was actually very hurtful to me.
That's your footage that you.
Yeah,
he's talking about your footage.
Yeah, exactly.
3 years. Yeah, 3 years of filming.
Wow.
Yeah, well, yeah. Before the CC1 we filmed the year.
It was 10 months. Yeah.
And was he paying you at the time, or like what? How was he compensating you?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
So I do want to say that, like, for dynamic filming, I usually charge $150 an hour for dynamic filming. But because I was under the impression that this is going to charity, me and Michael, would always scale back on charging them. So, for example, instead of charging him $150 an hour, I would charge him $100 an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, I've heard that from other professionals now. I'm starting to hear people say that, who, like one of the announcers put out a video recently. Maybe you guys saw it. He was like, Wade? Yeah. He was like, they offered me a salary, or they offered me payment, but I declined it because I was like, it's for charity. I'm good. But then they took that money that he generously forfeit, a guy who's not rich, by the way, and gave it to all the fucking creators. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, we were also promised a bonus on CC1, and we never got it. But because Michael was so nice, he didn't want to, like, make Ian feel uncomfortable and ask Ian and Nisa about it. I was pretty upset by it, and I thought it wasn't fair, because how is it that we put on this great event, we raised $1.3 million for charity, and he promised us a bonus, and then right after the event, he just kind of pretend like he's too busy to check in with us, And then we...
Yeah, after the event, like, once the event ended, I didn't see him again for about 5 months. So, because he was working with Dax on some show, and so he never trained. So the only 8 times that Ian ever actually trained was I trained him from July until May, and then I didn't see him again pretty much for several months. And then he started training again to fight Alex. Pretty much we started at like the end of December. And then that's when like they had to kind of get serious with the camp, because they realized like Alex was training hard. So really I only had 10 months with him to begin with, and then about 4+ months with him for the second event. And then I've never seen him again since then.
Yeah, I was talking to AB. I think it was pretty normal that the boxers at least gave their coaches a tip, especially because you were there. You weren't just working for him. You were helping everybody out. It seems like you guys were both like super involved in this event.
Yeah, one of the reasons he was even able to kind of connect with Manny Pacquiao's people who hooked him up with Michael Leonardi was like one of our connections. Our friend Eric ran into a guy in a bar in Vegas, and that was the guy they were supposed to get a hold of, but he was not reaching back to him. So we were able to get them connected with the people that connected them with Michael Leonardi. So we were literally there from I was there from the beginning for everything.
So you guys had a really unique point of view where you had like a front row seat to everything. Yeah. It seemed like you were with them intimately more than probably anyone else involved in this event. So there's all these interesting little details that you guys shared with me. For example, one being that I think it was you, Kate, that mentioned that he and Anissa did in fact pay for Hassan and all of his compatriots to travel to and stay at Creator Clash 2.
Yes.
Yeah. So they were talking about that long before, about how they had to fly in all these people. First of all, they rented the hotel for over 300 creators and flew a lot of them in. When the first year it was much more scaled back. We just had a couple floors of like some place, like a nice suite place, but it wasn't extravagant at all. And then the second year they did that full hotel for 300 creators. They flew a lot of people in. One of the people they flew in was Froggy Tonic, and they flew him in from France.
That's insane.
And Froggy had told us that he was there to salvage the documentary.
Yeah.
And that was super offensive to us because we're like, what do you mean salvage the documentary? And he said his job was to go around and like film Anissa having interactions with everyone. So we didn't know if that meant they were going to make the second documentary about how, or the actual documentary about how like Anissa was responsible for the event, because she did put a lot of work in for the first event and she did put a lot of work in for the second. But at the same time, in the first event, she didn't get credit for it. So she felt like she deserved all the credit. So I think that's why they paid Froggy Tonic to come film her and follow her around for the second event. But yeah, they flew in a lot of people. They rented out the whole hotel for 300 creators. And when we asked them if Ian's dad was going to be there, because he was there for the first event, they said they couldn't afford to fly Ian's dad in. It was too expensive.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty sad. And Froggy Tonic told me directly, because I met him at the hotel, right, where we were all staying at in Tampa for CC2. And he was like, oh, you're the videographer that has all the content of Ian Sparring. And I said, yes, I'm super excited. I've been waiting for this documentary, but it never came out. So I heard that you're taking it over now and you're going to help with the editing. And that's when Froggy Tonic told me that, yeah, Ian and Issa brought out his whole crew from France.
His whole crew?
I think it was just him.
Well, he had a few people that were holding the cameras, his camera guys. Because the interesting thing was that usually when like someone is a videographer, they would be the one filming most of the time. But it was interesting to me that
he was just directing.
Yeah, he was more directing.
This fucking guy thinks he's Spielberg?
Scorsese.
What the hell's going on?
Camera people with him that were actually doing the work.
I don't remember that, but I do remember for a fact that he had told us that he was flown in to salvage the documentary. Anyway, so we were just offended by that because we were like, what do you mean salvage the documentary? And then him saying that he had no idea how to make the documentary for the first event. I had taken him from like 140 pounds as like never played a sport a day in his life. 10 months later, he ends up fighting Dr. Mike in front of over 10,000 people with 100,000 pay-per-view buys. Mm-hmm. And the fight itself was like a rocky moment. And then he literally took interviews with everyone before the fights, after the fights. He got all the coaches to interview. And then he said he had no way to make the documentary. So I was just like, how can you not make it?
Yeah,
AB made a documentary.
Everybody made a documentary.
AB, Harley, I was in their documentaries, but I wasn't in Ian's documentary.
What the fuck?
Yeah. It's so sad to work on an event, like to work such a big event like
you guys were so invested. Yeah.
We were so invested.
And it would always drive me crazy because I could tell Ian wasn't really proud of his work. So one of the big things is like it was very hard to get Ian to train because he doesn't like boxing. He doesn't like boxing.
Well, that seems to be somewhat of a
problem,
a sticking point.
Yeah. So I would try to make the session
because he's boxing. Just to be clear. Yeah.
I mean,
he doesn't.
But I think that's why it was as traumatic as it was for him as well. Because he was dealing with like a lot of trauma and a lot of issues when we were in our boxing sessions. And don't get me wrong, that happens with a lot of fighters in general. Because fighting's very hard. Whether you're fighting MMA, boxing, whatever, it's very hard because you're getting beat up constantly, and then you're supposed to show up to the gym the next day and the next day and the next day. AB can attest to it, right? So it's mentally very hard. So I did feel bad for him because I could tell his heart wasn't into it. So then to be into something like that your heart's not into, that's why I didn't see him once the first event ended. We didn't see him again for several months. And I told him, hey, come in once or twice a week, train for fun, make it fun for yourself. Because when you're in a fight camp, it's not really fun. You just have to keep training.
Right.
But then he never came back. And then so I was like, oh, wow, he really doesn't like boxing. And then he did an interview with Anthony, or the guy from Smosh, and he was talking about boxing, and I was just like, oh, he doesn't like boxing at all, and he's making it like public now the way he was talking about it. And then even in the video where he's trying to promote Creator Clash 3, he said, oh, all I have is 4K footage of me going, and it's like, that's called boxing training, Ian.
That's what boxing looks like.
Yeah, that's literally what you're doing. And then if you notice, after he walked out of the third event and stepped away, he goes, I'm through with this boxing shit. I've been doing it for 4 years. And I was like, well, wait a minute. You trained for 10 months for the first fight. You took 6 months off. You trained 4 months for the second fight. And then you never came back to boxing again for over a year. So I'm like, how are you sick of boxing? Like, you obviously hate boxing. So, yeah, so it was hard for me as a coach to just get him to train. Also, like, half of the sessions, we'd have to train Anissa. So every session, instead of being just training for Ian for a fight, I would have to take half of the session and train Anissa.
So whose idea was that?
Hers. Yeah. But the thing about it is, Ian goes along with it, right? Because I feel like if Ian would have said, hey, no, I need the time to train, it might have been different. But he's just like, oh, no, she needs to train before I train.
But she didn't even fight. She wasn't even fighting.
No. And so literally in like the training footage, half of the sessions I had with him would be with her. And then she would come in with like all sorts of drama to the gym. One day she was super dramatic and I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? And she related Will Smith slapping to Chris Rock to somehow Ian having to defend her online. So she was like super dramatic the whole day. And I'm like, I can't even train Ian today because she's so dramatic. So that was constantly.
Give me a sec. Give me a sec.
Keep fucking my mouth.
The slap, guys.
Yeah. Yes. She came in distraught, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened?
Yeah.
She's on Chris. She's on the slapper side, right? Like she was empathizing with Will.
You gotta do this. You gotta do this.
She felt like she felt like Will was Ian.
He had to slap.
Yep, Ian has to slap all the people that insult her, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, but anyway, so
that's true. Will, I'm not putting this word. This is my observation. Will Smith is one of the most famous cucks.
Yeah.
And again, that's my analysis, not your guys'. But it is an interesting analogy, right? For them to be idolized because Jada famously had an affair with her son's friend. You know, so I wonder if that's how they relate more so than the slapping.
Keep fucking my wife's mouth.
You know. Yeah, it's just me. I'm doing a little psychology here. Psychology in Los Angeles.
I got a couple questions actually, if you don't mind.
Harley, what's up, man?
Yeah,
please, by all means, chime in anytime.
Okay, yeah, I had a couple questions. Let me get.
What's
let me
happening?
Set this up right here properly. Get this in order. Did you guys get any paperwork, by the way? Did you guys sign contracts? The fighters had contracts. I'm curious if the coaches had.
No, we never had a contract.
No.
Oh, interesting, because that would have been like something that would have detailed what's like what like, I mean, did they, I guess by word they told you it was charity and they didn't ever.
Right. Yeah. So and I'm still hoping that the first event was all charity, other than Ian taking his fighter purse. But what was crazy about that is then you said you had a $27,000 bonus. And I was always under the assumption that there was no bonus because even though he told me there was a bonus, he then disappeared for 6 months and I never saw him. So I was like, was there a bonus or was there not a bonus?
And you confronted about that? You asked them, or you didn't want to?
No, I just let it be.
Because I'm the same way, by the way. I never spoke about money with Creator Clash. I have a guy on my team that does that. I wanted to not talk about money, and plus it's awkward when it's a charity thing. You're like, I don't want to. Am I going to ask for money?
Yep. Right.
Yeah, and it's awkward when it's your fighter, and then you have to train him for a whole nother event. And I mean, truthfully, like a lot of times fighters will say they're going to pay a coach and then not pay a coach. So that happens sometimes. So truthfully, unfortunately, I'm used to that. right? Where they're like, oh, there's more money coming in, and then the more money coming in just goes to them. So you get used to that as a coach, but I am under the assumption that the first event did all go to charity, and then the second event was supposed to go to charity, but instead it went to the hotel, the pre-party and after party.
Was there a moment
about the after party? Because he said he was using the after party to help promote the event, but I have no idea how an event after the fight will generate money for the fight.
Well, so that's it. In his most recent video of concern trolling, in the beginning, he says he's explaining how they lost money in the second one, and he goes, the event before the boxing was to promote it, and that sounds reasonable and normal. But I don't think he even mentioned the fact that there was a massive gala after the fight where Anissa got to play as MC and give out awards and shit.
So we actually didn't even know about the gala until about probably maybe less than a week before the event, or a week before the event. The only reason I knew about the gala was because Ian had invited some of his training partners, and they were on the email list, and so they kept telling me there was going to be a gala. And I assumed they were talking about the pre-party, because the first year they did do the pre-party, but it was much smaller. It was on a way smaller scale than the second year. And then also, so we had no idea. So when everyone was asking me about a gala, they're like, what are you going to wear? I was like, I'm going to wear sweatpants. What are you talking about? And then they're like, what? You're going to wear sweatpants to a gala? You're crazy. And I was like,
first year, it was like, the first year was like a little party thing. It was like a Sweet 16 vibe.
Which is all you need.
It's game set up.
Yeah.
We had Super Smash Brothers set up. It was in the hotel both years.
That sounds great.
It was much more casual, but if you dressed for that, like I was told specifically to dress nicely for the gala, that there would be pictures and such.
We found out it was a red carpet event that they flew Getty Images in for. So they straight up flew Getty Images to take pictures for the event. But
they're the only. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, when we asked them about it, and I said, "Hey, is there a gala?" And they said, "Oh, you guys, don't even worry about it. You don't have to go to that." And I said, what? This is what Anissa said. And I said, what? And I said, well, some of the sparring partners got invited. And she said, I don't know how they got on that list. They weren't supposed to be on the list. And in my mind, I'm like, Ian had invited them. He sent them the email personally.
What a disgusting human being she seems to be. I'm sorry.
Oh, she didn't want any of us there. She only wanted like creators there, or people that would, I guess, make her feel like she could get more clout. So she told us we didn't have to come to the event. She doesn't know why we would want to be at the event. And I said, what's the event for? And she said, and it's an award show. And I said, what are the awards for? And she said, they're awards for the boxing. And I said, why wouldn't his coach want to be there? Why wouldn't his team want to be there? I was like, that makes no sense. So everybody else, all the other coaches I talked to, I said, hey, did you guys know about the gala? They said, yeah. I said, did you bring a suit for it? And all of them had freaking like 3-piece suits with like kerchiefs and everything. I had sweatpants. I'm like, what?
Dude, that's so messed up. Why? It's like you're the guy connected with the event organizers, and they're explicitly excluding you guys.
I know why. I honestly believe that the reason why Ian and Nisa excluded us and did not want us to know about the gala is because we're both very professional, we're both very direct and very transparent. If they told us that they were going to throw a huge gala after the fight and it was going to cost a ton of money, we would have asked them, why are you doing this?
Yeah,
because Anissa already told us, she shared with us prior to CC2, like a month before, that they were negative, was it 500K already?
Yeah, at the time.
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah, that's
say that again. Say that again.
They were negative 500K before the event.
Yes.
So going up to the event with the ticket sales and the PPV sales, when the event started, they knew they were down $500,000.
Yes.
Keep in mind that they moved to a bigger venue and they sold a lot of tickets. But before the event had started, they said we're fine. So the reason we found this out was because I wanted Ian to start doing 2 training sessions a day. And I said, Ian, you need to start doing 2-a-days. And he was like, why should I do 2-a-days? And I told him, I was like, Ian, you're not good at boxing, man. My brand is at stake. So you need to do 2-a-days. That's what pro boxers do. And so I told him.
Wait, did you actually say that to him?
Yeah, yes. And then I told him, I said, my brand is on the line. I said, you can go back to YouTube. My whole life is fighting and coaching fighters. And I'm like, so if you don't have a good performance, that's going to look bad on me. After the first event, for the first event, he didn't do any of his cardio. So that's why I ended up gassing out so bad. And I truthfully believe if he would have just done his freaking cardio, that he would have won that fight. But they couldn't do the cardio because 10 weeks before the first event, Anissa wanted them to buy a house. So instead of doing 2 training sessions a day at that point, they had to cut out training to go look to buy a house. And he moved into his new house the week before we left to Florida. So he literally wasn't training like he was supposed to for that whole first event because they wanted to go buy a house when they could have just rented a place for 6 months or a year. And then Ian could have focused on the fight, had the fight, and then found a new place. So I found that super offensive. I'm like, you're not doing anything I'm telling you. And they would lie to me, and he would tell me he was doing his road work.
They would lie? Why would he lie? That's like lying to your doctor.
It made no sense because he acted like I told him to do things because I wanted him to do them. And I really wanted him to do things because that would help him win the fight.
Yeah.
So when I tell him, hey, you need to do this, he'd be like, and then not really do it. He didn't realize how important cardio was until the second fight.
What do you mean he didn't realize how important cardio is? That's like the entire thing. Yeah, that's everything. That's the whole thing.
It literally is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, hearing all this, it strikes me as ironic because he was always, and Anissa, going on about how they hold boxing in such high esteem and they want everyone to train and this is life or death. This is serious. You get in the ring and people die in the ring. And and hearing him speak so loftily and respectfully about boxing, but then hearing he's like, oh yeah, no, I lied to my trainer about running. It's like, what?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of that was them regurgitating what I would say. A lot of it, when I would tell them things about boxing, they would go repeat those things. I don't know how much of it was like them actually believing it. But so for that second event, so I tell him he needs to do 2-a-days. This is like 2 weeks before the fight. I'm like, we need to do your 2-a-days. And I said, my brand is at stake. Well, he went and told Anissa that I told him my brand was at stake. So the next day she comes into the gym super mad. And she's like, our brand is at stake. We're $500,000 in the hole right now. And we're like,
I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that at that time. I think a lot of the fighters would have liked to have known that. I don't think none of them needed to be in the dark about that, you know?
Yes, completely. Well, and that's the thing. They said you guys didn't promote enough, but they weren't honest about the fact that they were spending the money from the ticket sales on the hotel, on flying people in, on all these other things. So it was just like,
so those decisions, the Gala decisions, were made while in the red.
Yes.
I have a question about that.
So she was like, we're already down 500,000. And she still had time to cancel stuff when she said that? Like, how before the event was that?
Yeah. I mean, it was 2 weeks. It was 2 weeks before the event. I mean, they
so
knew
she
they
could have made some last minute moves. Yeah.
They knew they were 500K in the hole long before that, right? That's just when they yelled at us about it.
Yeah.
So they could have definitely made moves to reduce spending.
100%.
She wanted that award show so bad the next day. They really, really wanted to have that award show so she could give out awards. Once again, you had heard, like Ian said, he didn't want to have the fight just end and have everybody go home the next day.
He said, I'll quote him because it's very rich. He says that the first time afterwards, he woke up and everybody was gone. And he found it super depressing because he didn't get a chance to process his trauma, which seems a little bit hyperbolic, frankly, if I'm being honest. I mean, it's like a self-inflicted charity event. I wouldn't call that exactly I wouldn't put that up with like maybe like fighting in a war. I don't know. But but I guess we all define trauma differently. But so he goes, so in that case, I wanted to throw a party afterwards where we could all talk to each other and process our trauma. And then he says, we lost money, but I don't regret throwing the after party.
Yeah, he said
I think that was a lot of her words because like he would say things that she would say. And so, for example, he said, well, we thought inviting Hassan and all those other people was going to translate to more buys, pay-per-view buys.
And they didn't even promote. They didn't even care.
No, it made no sense to me. I'm like, people don't watch fights because Denzel Washington's in the crowd. They're not like, Denzel Washington's there. I need to watch the fight.
Right.
Like, it makes no sense. And if they would have taught, so a lot of decisions before the first event, they like spoke with us about, because I know boxing. I've been around boxing my entire life. So I'm like, oh, I could help them with all these other things. And then for the second event, I felt like they wanted to make it much more like their own version of a TwitchCon, their own version of a VidCon.
That's what he said, yeah.
He said that she wanted to be like a VidCon. And we are new to the YouTube world. Like, we never been to a VidCon. And she's like, you guys haven't been before, but it's super cool where all these famous YouTubers come and everybody gets to vibe out. And so I was just like,
Vibe
is this
out?
like Comic-Con?
Yeah, she was really mad the first year that like, because she would always talk about a certain group of people. It was like somebody named Pokimane and all these other people, and she would always talk about how she wants like them to be there and she wants to be a part of their group. So a lot of it, and then so that's why like, and then the first year was like during that girl's birthday party. So
No, sorry. Knowing that detail, it breaks my heart that she had to settle for denims.
Yeah. I don't even know these people, but yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, once again, the only people I really know in the YouTube world is you guys, because you guys were so nice to us. Like, we got more clout from being on your show than we ever did from working with Ian, because he would never show any of the work we did. He would never, and then everybody else, it drove me crazy. Like, AB would shout out his coach, Wale, Lucky Boy, and then
AB was AB was all about it, man, and you know, the coaches deserve a lot of credit for what you, especially you guys who were involved with the freaking event, the management of the whole event, you know.